The young and the restless spoilers, the secrets unveiled, a web of deceit. Cole had always been a man of mystery, even before his marriage to Victoria and the birth of their daughter, Claire. But recently, a new layer of secrecy seemed to have enveloped him, and Victoria couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Her intuition, something she had trusted for years, was screaming at her that there were hidden truths that Cole was keeping from her and from their family. Victoria had always been a woman of confidence, someone who knew how to read people, and Cole was no exception. But lately, his behavior had become increasingly erratic. He would disappear for long stretches of time, his face drawn, his eyes filled with a darkness she had never seen before. He had told her, time and again, that he was fine, that everything was under control, but she could see through his lies. And then there was the issue with his health. Something Victoria knew he wasn't being entirely honest about. The whispers of illness had been growing louder in their household, and no matter how much Cole tried to brush it off, Victoria's suspicion only deepened. What had truly caused Cole to withdraw from the world around him? Why had he become so secretive? And why, out of all the people in his life, was he turning to Claire, their daughter, for comfort? Victoria couldn't help but notice how frequently Cole and Claire were together, in places they didn't discuss with her. Whenever she tried to ask Claire about it, the answers were vague, evasive. There was something more going on, something Victoria was determined to uncover. But Cole, for all his charm and intellect, had always been a master of deception. He knew how to keep his cards close to his chest, and now, as the tension in their marriage grew, it seemed as though he was hiding more than just his illness. The secrecy surrounding him had escalated to a point where it was becoming impossible to ignore. Was he really suffering from the illness he claimed, or was there something darker, more sinister that he was covering up? The more Victoria thought about it, the more it consumed her, gnawing at her from the inside. Then, one fateful afternoon, Victoria found herself standing at a crossroads that would lead her into a web of lies, betrayal, and shocking revelations. Following Claire, the mysterious house. Victoria had always trusted Claire, but as her suspicions grew, she began to question how much her daughter truly knew about her father's secretive behavior. Claire was a smart girl, she had to be, especially with the way her father had kept her in the dark. Victoria couldn't help but feel that Claire, for all her loyalty to her father, had her own reasons for avoiding certain questions. It wasn't until Claire left the house one day without explanation that Victoria decided to take matters into her own hands. She had followed her daughter from a distance, moving stealthily through the streets, trying to remain undetected. She couldn't shake the sense that something was wrong, that Claire was hiding something from her. The way Claire had been acting lately, distant, distracted, had Victoria on edge. When Claire arrived at an old, run-down house on the outskirts of town, Victoria's heart skipped a beat. The house was unfamiliar, tucked away from the main roads, almost as if it had been intentionally hidden from view. Nobody seemed to know anything about it. It was as if the house didn't exist at all. Victoria's mind raced with possibilities. What was Claire doing here? And why had she been so secretive about her visits? As Victoria watched from behind a nearby tree, she saw Cole's car pull up to the house. Her pulse quickened. What was he doing here? The realization hit her like a ton of bricks. Cole had been coming here too, and he had been keeping his visits hidden. Why? What was the connection between him and this mysterious house? A tense confrontation. The truth about the cancer. Victoria waited in the shadows, her breath shallow as she prepared to confront the truth that had eluded her for so long. She had to know what was going on between Cole and Claire. There was too much at stake, too many unanswered questions. It was time to uncover the secrets that had been festering beneath the surface. As she crept closer to the house, she heard voices. She froze, her heart racing, as the conversation between Cole and Claire filtered through the walls. She was too far to make out the words clearly, but the tone was unmistakable. Something was wrong, something had gone horribly wrong. Inside, Cole and Claire were having a heated argument. Victoria could hear the anger and frustration in their voices, the tension crackling in the air. The words became clearer as she moved closer to the window, straining to hear every syllable. "Why did you lie to me, Cole?" Claire's voice was sharp, accusatory. "Why did you tell me you had cancer? Why didn't you just tell the truth?" Victoria's heart skipped a beat. Cancer? Was this what Cole had been hiding from her all this time? Had he really been battling something so serious, and yet had kept it from her? She felt a wave of betrayal crash over her. But then Claire's voice rose in frustration. "Why would you lie about something like that? You could have just told me the truth." Victoria could hear Cole's voice, low and defensive, but she couldn't make out the words. She leaned in closer, desperate for more information, her mind racing with confusion and fear. "You don't understand, Claire." Cole's voice was strained, almost pleading. "This is my life. My choice. I didn't want you or anyone to know. I didn't want to be a burden." Victoria's chest tightened at the sound of his words. What was he talking about? Why had he kept this from her? What other secrets was he hiding, not just from her, but from Claire as well? Suddenly, Claire's voice cut through the tension. "You don't get it, do you?" she spat. "You lied to me, and you lied to Mom. And I can't stand it anymore. You need to come clean." Victoria's heart pounded in her chest as the realization hit her with full force. There was more to this story than just the cancer. There were layers of deception that ran deeper than she had ever imagined. Claire wasn't just upset about the cancer, it was about the lies that had been built on top of the truth. Victoria knew that this moment marked the beginning of something she couldn't undo. The secrets, the lies, and the betrayals would soon come to light, and there would be no turning back. Victoria's confrontation, the moment of truth as the argument inside the house continued, Victoria's anger and confusion reached a boiling point. She had been shut out for too long, kept in the dark while her family kept secrets from her. This wasn't just about Cole's illness anymore, it was about trust, betrayal, and the deep, painful cracks that had formed in their relationship. Victoria stepped forward, her heart racing with the need to confront Cole and Claire, to demand answers to the questions that had been tormenting her for weeks. She couldn't stand the secrecy any longer. She needed to know the truth. When the door opened, and Cole stepped out, looking worn and defeated, Victoria couldn't hold back any longer. She marched straight toward him, her eyes burning with fury. "What is going on, Cole?" Victoria's voice trembled with emotion. "Why are you lying to me? Why have you been hiding everything from me?" Cole's face softened as he saw the hurt in Victoria's eyes, but he didn't respond immediately. He had never been good at facing the truth, especially when it came to his own faults. I didn't want to hurt you," Cole finally admitted, his voice barely a whisper. "But I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want you to feel sorry for me. I didn't want you to see me as weak." Victoria's heart ached for him, but her anger was stronger. "You don't get it, do you? You've hurt me more than you'll ever know by keeping me in the dark." As the truth began to unravel, Victoria realized that this moment, this confrontation, would change everything. The lies, the secrets, and the hidden truths were all finally coming to light, and there was no going back. This expanded version builds upon the tension, emotional depth, and complexity of the relationships. It dives deeper into the motivations of the characters, their struggles with secrecy, and the consequences of betrayal. The dynamic between Cole, Victoria, and Claire has been enhanced to create a more intricate narrative. Let me know if you need further adjustments or additional details. Unveiling the deception, a shocking betrayal. Victoria stood frozen in place as the revelation sank in, her heart pounding in her chest. The conversation between Cole and Claire, once a seemingly innocent discussion, now felt like a thunderous explosion in her mind. The betrayal was not just about Cole's illness, as she had originally believed. It was something far deeper, something that shattered the trust she had placed in both her husband and her daughter. As Victoria pieced together the fragments of their secret conversation, a horrifying realization took hold of her. Why didn't Claire call Cole Dad? The question echoed in her mind like a sharp, resounding drumbeat. Claire, her own flesh and blood, had never referred to Cole as a father figure, and now it made sense, because he wasn't. The distance between the two of them wasn't just emotional. It was deliberate. In that moment, the veil of ignorance was lifted, and Victoria saw the truth for what it was. Cole and Claire weren't simply dealing with the fallout of a family secret. They were working together as co-conspirators. Her mind reeled as she thought back to all the moments of strange tension, the awkward silences between them. Why had Cole been so secretive about Claire's role in their lives? Now it was clear, Claire was far more involved in Cole's deception than Victoria had ever imagined. They were in this together, but for what purpose? And the way they spoke to each other, it was as if they weren't even family, but two allies plotting something far bigger. Why hadn't Cole been honest with her? Why hadn't Claire ever referred to him as her father, when that was exactly what he was supposed to be? The plan unfolds. Claire's true motive. As Claire spoke, the depth of her manipulation became evident. She was no innocent bystander in this scheme. She was an active participant, pulling the strings behind the scenes. Claire's words cut through the fog of confusion in Victoria's mind like a knife. "My plan is nearly complete," Claire said, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. "I've gained the trust of the Newman family. Soon, they'll believe I belong here. And when that happens, I won't have to leave this house. I won't have to leave Cole either." Victoria felt a cold chill sweep through her as she processed Claire's words. The Newman family? Was this some kind of game for Claire? Was she playing both sides, pretending to be part of the family while secretly plotting her own path to power? Victoria couldn't fathom it. Her daughter, the one she had raised, was conspiring with her husband against her. And what was this about leaving? Leaving Cole? Claire had spoken about it as if it were a choice she could make, something that was within her power to control. The betrayal stung more than she could have ever anticipated. But Cole wasn't just a passive participant in Claire's plan. No, he was just as deeply involved, just as much a part of this web of lies and deceit. Victoria could see it now. He had been lying to her not just about his illness, but about his true intentions all along. "I don't want you to stay here," Cole said to Claire, his voice strained, as if the weight of the situation was beginning to press down on him. "You and our journey has ended. It's time for us to reunite with Jordan in New York. Our work here is done." Victoria's heart skipped a beat. Jordan? Who was Jordan? And why was he so crucial to this plan? The mention of his name felt like the final piece of a puzzle she hadn't even known she was trying to solve. The web was now fully entangled, and Victoria was at the center of it all, caught between two people she thought she knew, her husband and her daughter. The tension in the room was palpable. Claire was insistent, her voice rising in frustration as she responded to Cole. "You don't understand, Cole. This is bigger than us. I'm not leaving now. I've worked too hard to gain their trust. The Newmans won't just let me go, they'll make sure I'm a part of this family for good." Claire's words rang in Victoria's ears, a deep sense of betrayal now echoing in her mind. The lies, the secrets, the manipulations, they had all been building toward this moment. The woman who had once been her daughter was now someone she didn't recognize. She wasn't just playing a part in a twisted family drama, she was the architect of her own rise to power. A battle of wills, the final confrontation. The argument between Cole and Claire intensified, the air thick with frustration and exhaustion. Their voices were raw, each word cutting deeper into Victoria's heart. "This is the man I married. This is the daughter I raised," she thought, her mind reeling with the enormity of the deception that had been kept from her for so long. Victoria, still hidden outside the house, clenched her fists in anger. What had happened to them? How could they be capable of such betrayal? She had always believed that family was supposed to come first, that loyalty was the foundation of everything they had built together. But now, in the wake of these revelations, Victoria was faced with a painful truth. Her family was a lie. As she stood outside, the echoes of Claire's words resonated in her mind. I won't leave. I've gained their trust. The idea that Claire had been pretending all along, that she had been so calculated in her actions, shattered Victoria's perception of her daughter. How could Claire, her own flesh and blood, betray her in such a way? The cold, sharp reality of the situation settled in as she listened to Cole and Claire's argument reach a boiling point. Both of them were exhausted, emotionally drained from the weight of their lies. The facade they had built was crumbling, but neither of them seemed willing to back down. They had both invested too much in this game of deceit to stop now. Victoria's decision, what comes next? Victoria knew that she could no longer stand idly by. This was it, the moment that would define everything. She had two choices before her. To confront Cole and Claire, to demand the truth, or to walk away and leave them to their own devices. But walking away wasn't an option. Not anymore. She had been pushed to the brink, and now, she had to face the consequences of the truth she had uncovered. As she stepped forward, making her presence known, Cole and Claire froze. Their eyes widened with surprise and guilt, but neither of them spoke. The silence that followed was deafening, the weight of everything unspoken hanging in the air. Victoria took a deep breath, her voice calm but filled with the strength of a woman who had been betrayed. I know everything, she said, her eyes locking onto Cole's and then Claire's. The lies, the games, the betrayal, it ends now. Cole opened his mouth to speak, but Victoria held up her hand, silencing him. No more lies. No more secrets. You'll both tell me the truth right now, or I will make sure that you never see the Newmans again. The shock on their faces was evident, but Victoria's resolve was unshakable. She had been pushed too far, and now it was time to reclaim her life. She wasn't going to let her family crumble any further under the weight of their lies. Claire's face twisted in anger, but she remained silent, unsure of how to respond. And Cole, the man she had once loved, was standing before her, broken and defeated, but unwilling to admit the full extent of his betrayal. You have no idea what you've started, Claire finally spat, her voice filled with venom. You don't understand the power we have now. Victoria's eyes narrowed. I understand more than you think, Claire. She turned to Cole, her voice icy. And you, how long did you think you could keep this from me? How long did you think you could betray me and our daughter? The tension in the room was unbearable, and the weight of the truth hung heavy on all of them. It was clear that this moment, the moment of reckoning, would be the end of the facade they had so carefully built. What came next was uncertain, but one thing was clear, the secrets were out, and the consequences would be far-reaching. Victoria had finally uncovered the truth. Now, it was time to decide what to do with it. This version builds upon the emotional tension, heightening the sense of betrayal and shock for Victoria as she uncovers the depths of the lies that have been kept from her. It explores the psychological drama and conflict between the characters, driving toward a final confrontation that forces them to face the consequences of their actions. Let me know if you'd like further changes or additions.